Hi everyone, it's Tara with Secret Bee Studio, and I'm here today to show you a tutorial on how to make this super cute and useful tool caddy. So the great thing about this tool caddy is that it spins, and to do this I started with a Lazy Susan base that measures 4 inches square. I purchased this on Amazon and there are other sizes available, but I thought this would make a good size for the tool caddy. I'm also using some heavy chipboard that measures 1/8 inch in thickness, and this will form the bottom and the sides of the tool caddy. I am using the Simple Stories Dad Life, and I know that Father's Day is over, but you know we always have leftovers from our scrapbooking crafts, and every man can use an adorable tool caddy for his desk or his workspace. So with this Lazy Susan base, there is a top and a bottom. The top shows the holes that are closer to the edge, and the bottom you will see the holes are a little bit closer to the center. So the first thing we're going to do is cut out of chipboard our base and our sides, and I'm going to use my paper trimmer to do this, and I've just put an older blade in there that's marked chipboard so that I don't ruin one of my newer blades. So I put the chipboard in there and I cut one side at 4 inches, and because it's so thick, I just turn it over and cut again at 4 inches. And this just makes it easier to remove the other piece of chipboard. So do that for both sides, cut a 4-inch square, and then you'll notice that the corners of the Lazy Susan turntable are rounded. So I'm going to go ahead and take my corner rounder and round the corners of my chipboard as well. And for this, I'm just going to be using my 1/4 inch corner chomper. This is totally optional, I just think it gives it a nice finished look. So here I have cut 4 sides for my tool caddy out of the same thickness chipboard as the base. All of the sides are cut to 4 inches tall. 2 of the sides are cut at 3 inches in width, and the other 2 are cut at 2 7/8 inches in width. And this is so that when they fit together, they will be 3 inches square total. I have also cut another 4-inch square out of some heavy cardstock, and I've cut a same coordinating piece out of the patterned paper of the collection. Both of these have a 3-inch square cut out of the center with a 1/2 inch margin all the way around. And this is to slip over the tool caddy and cover up the base and any glue that's left behind. So you can get some rough edges after you cut your chipboard, and I'm just taking a paper file and I'm going to smooth all of the edges of my chipboard so that I don't have anything hanging off. Next, we're going to mark on our base where we want the sides of the tool caddy to be placed. And to do this, I'm going to use this cardstock square that I've cut out the center so that I know exactly where 3 inches will be. Again, this has 1/2 inch margin on either side, so that should be a 3-inch square right in the center. Now I'm going to be doing an extra optional step for the sides of my tool caddy. I will be cutting 1/8 inch grooves into my base chipboard using a craft knife. This is optional, as you can just use hot glue to adhere the sides to the base, but I feel this gives it extra stability. First, I mark lines approximately 1/8 of an inch on the inside of the square that we made before. These will be the chipboard areas that I remove from the base. Once I have the area marked off, I go over the lines again, cutting into the chipboard slightly, but not to the bottom, with the craft knife blade. I also use a ruler to keep things straight. Then I simply use the tip of the craft knife to remove layers of chipboard. This takes a little bit, but it's worth it. I generally try to remove 1/16 of an inch of chipboard, and this leaves a nice groove for the sides to fit into. Do this for all 4 sides. Before gluing your sides onto the base, place all of them into the respective grooves to make sure they fit properly. You may need to trim the sides of your caddy a bit using either your paper trimmer or the paper file. I had to remove just the tiniest smidge of chipboard off the side of the smaller sides of my caddy. Then, using hot glue, place a strip of glue into the groove and place a 3-inch side first. Then I do the same thing for both of the 2 7/8 inch sides, also adding hot glue onto the sides so they adhere together as well. Finally, glue the other 3-inch side to the base. Remove any excess hot glue and smooth the sides and top if needed with a paper file. You can see that one of my sides is slightly taller than the others, so I use my craft knife to cut the chipboard even. Then I take white glue and smooth it into all of the corners for extra stability. Smooth it all over the inside and outside corners. We will be covering the outside with pattern paper, so the areas do need to be smooth. Next, make sure your base covering slips easily over the sides of the caddy. I use the cardstock piece along with a pattern paper because it is more sturdy and won't tear easily. I slip this piece over first and make adjustments to the inside of the square with either a craft knife, the paper file, or scissors. Once it fits, use that as a template to make the same adjustments to the patterned paper. Once you have both pieces cut and fitting over the sides, go ahead and adhere them together. Next, cut a strip of patterned paper from a 12 by 12 sheet to 4 inches tall. If your paper is truly 12 inches long, it should cover the entire outside of the caddy, but I cut an extra piece just to make sure I have all of the chipboard covered in the patterned paper. Since my pattern is plaid, I cut a similar piece from the paper to try and match it. This is totally optional as only a small portion will show. I am using score tape to adhere the pattern paper to the sides, but feel free to use your favorite adhesive. If using score tape, make sure you burnish it onto the paper very well, which makes it so much easier to remove the backing. Adhere the small piece of pattern paper first, making sure it fits snug where the base and the sides meet. Then adhere the longer piece of pattern paper, making sure it's even along the bottom as well. If you have any overhanging edges, simply trim them with scissors and file them smooth. Then go ahead and adhere the pattern paper square to the base. I apply a small amount of white glue as well along the edges of the base, just so that everything stays glued down well. I embellished all sides of this caddy, but I wanted to show you how to adhere some picture frames. I cut 2 frames from the pattern paper using dies. I also cut the same frames from the heavy cardstock for extra stability and adhered them together. I take foam adhesive and cut it into thin strips as I don't want to cover the whole back of the frame edges completely. I will also only apply the foam strips to just 3 sides of the frame, leaving the top open so that pictures can easily be slipped in and changed. Apply the cut adhesive strips to the outside edges of the frame and then place them onto the caddy. You can see before I placed the first frame, I decided to add a decorative strip of coordinating pattern paper underneath. I placed my frames on opposite sides, but you can decorate your caddy as you would like. Here's my fully decorated and embellished caddy. You can see that I added more patterned paper to the insides, and I also used a blue marker to color all of the exposed chipboard edges. I would definitely recommend coloring the edges first before adhering any patterned paper. To apply the caddy to the Lazy Susan base, I am going to be using silicone. This is clear silicone that comes in a small tube. I am also going to be adding brads to the base along with some clear bumpers to the bottom of the Lazy Susan so it will stay in place on whatever surface it sits on. Adding the brads was a last-minute decision, and this should have actually been done at the beginning as it would have been so much easier to punch the holes. But where there's a will, there is always a way. I use a pencil to mark the holes that are closest to the outside edge of the Lazy Susan, which is the top. Flip the caddy over and place the top of the Lazy Susan onto the caddy base and mark the holes. Then I used a paper piercer and then scissors to make the holes for the brads. I tried a Crop-A-Dile, but it wouldn't fit, which is why this would have been so much easier to do at the very beginning. I will be applying a thin layer of silicone to the Lazy Susan, and I test it out on a scrap piece of paper. It is very sticky and fairly thick in consistency, but apply it thinly and smooth it with your fingers so you don't have a ton of excess oozing out. Once that is done, place the caddy on top and press down, removing any excess with your fingers or a baby wipe. You can see it is already adhered and holding well, but it will take a couple of hours to dry completely. Go ahead and insert your brads as well at this point. Then, even though the bumpers are self-adhesive, I also apply a bit of the silicone just so they stay in place. That's it. A super cute tool caddy that turns for easy access and will look great on any desk or workspace. Thanks for watching my YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you next time. Bye!